Hello, pup parents, and welcome to today's episode of the Perfect Pup podcast. My name is Devin. I'm excited and a little bit bummed about this episode. I'm going to be talking about something that happened to me that, in my opinion, almost ruined my relationship with my puppy. And I bring this up. I want to do this episode to help you avoid those situations and to have a conversation about trusting our gut when it comes to training techniques. So let's get right into it. First, I'm a little bit under the weather, sounding a little nasally. Apologies in advance. I want to tell you a story. My wife and I had two puppies. We also had an older dog. We had two puppies under the age of about 7-8 months, and they were about 6 months apart. We were in over our heads. We were overwhelmed. We were first-time pup parents. We were scouring the internet. We were talking to people and getting so much conflicting information, and our thought process was we should go to an in-person training class. Financially, we didn't want to do a one-on-one trainer. It just didn't seem like the right fit, and it wasn't within our budget. And so we said, let's go to a group class. Looked it up, found one online, read the reviews, read things on Google, thought, there's not a ton here, but they says they have this much experience. These are some of their trainers. They've been in competitions, etc. Cool, let's go. And there was a couple of red flags right off the bat that in the moment, I didn't really know. Looking back, I recognize now that I didn't feel great about it. The first day they said, you need to have a choke chain for your dog, or they call that a slip lead. So I walk up to to one of the tables where they're selling them, and I say, hey, I was told I need to get 2 choke chains for my dog. And they laughed at me and they said, oh, we don't call them choke chains. I said, okay, what do you call them? And they said slip leads. Oh, okay, that sounds better. But I mean, in my head, I'm thinking it's a choke chain. It's a metal lead that goes around your dog's neck and gets tighter as you pull, and in theory could literally choke your dog. I didn't feel good about it, but we thought to ourselves, these are experts. They know what they're doing. They're not going to put our dogs in harm's way. We'll be fine. Fast forward, we're continuing to come to this class, and it was constant corrections. Let me paint the picture that you have around 35 to 45, 50 dogs in a middle school sized gymnasium, not well behaved, young puppies, most of them, with pup parents who have no idea what they're doing, and a couple, maybe a handful of trainers, more like a few. And looking back, I can recognize now that my puppies were overwhelmed. They were super overwhelmed with the situation. It was a brand new environment around a ton of other puppies, and they didn't understand what the point of it was. Like, in their minds, they're going and they want to go talk to other dogs. They want to walk around. They want to sniff. They want to explore. And the advice or the direction given to us was, when they're not listening, or if they pull a different way or whatever it is, give a correction on the leash. Pop the collar. They literally use the words pop the collar. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't love this, but again, they have expertise. They probably understand better than me. We continue for this class, and truthfully, it was just overwhelming, always. We left that class feeling dejected, feeling like we didn't accomplish anything, and feeling like, wow, are our dogs ever going to be able to behave like we want them to? What happened as well is that this scenario created reactivity for my dog Scout. It caused serious harm to our relationship with her. She was in such a young age and so kind of vulnerable and just trying to understand and make sense of the world. And every time she wanted to go talk to another dog or go explore or whatever, she was getting a correction, an aversive, with not enough clear direction as to what we actually wanted from her. Yes, we were rewarding when the good things happened, but again, zooming out and looking back on that situation and thinking, why would someone think that my 2-3-month-old puppy is going to magically know how to walk calmly on a leash and around a bunch of other dogs in an environment they've never been in before? And then the advice was to give them a correction if they didn't. Certainly, there's going to be way too many corrections, and it's just going to be this constant feeling of the dog not knowing what is exactly expected of them, but they're getting all these aversives, they're getting these collar pops, they're getting, if they jump up, they're telling us, just put our knee up, and they run into our knee. Like, all these old school aversives that just, like, why would you expect that to work? Your puppy hasn't had enough direction. And what happened over time is it caused our puppy Scout to be reactive. She was reactive for a couple of years. And I truthfully blame it, not blame, but can pinpoint it largely to this class because she created this association with other dogs and being on leash with, I'm going to get corrections. I'm going to get my collar popped. I'm going to not feel good. There's going to be some type of pain involved. And in turn, she became reactive. And it's so interesting, like looking back now with the knowledge that I have to understand, of course, that's what happened. It's just like simple laws of learning. When she sees other dogs, there's pain involved. And that is what caused a large part to be reactive to other dogs on a leash for multiple years. It took a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of frustration to overcome that experience and her reactivity. And I wanted to tell this story not as like a sob story because my dogs are great. I love them. My relationship with them is awesome. We have stopped using those methods. Obviously, again, this was pre-Pupford. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know about, I don't even think we knew about Zach George. We didn't have 30-Day Perfect Pup or the app. Like, we were young. We were first-time pup parents. We were naive. We didn't know. We didn't have enough knowledge. And I just bring all this up to say it's okay to trust your gut. Because my wife and I's gut, and more so hers, was that we probably shouldn't have continued going to that class. But we felt, we've put the money in. We've put the time. They're experts. They've been doing this for a long time. Look how well-behaved their dogs are. They've won competitions, etc. But it's just a lesson to, stick to your gut and stick to how you feel when you're doing certain training techniques. I think we don't talk about that enough, that, there's a lot of people who want to banter online about, using aversives or e-collars and why it can be fine and etc. And I think at the end of the day, my experience in life has been, I just don't feel good doing those things. And, we can get into a whole philosophical conversation about that side of things. But generally speaking, I think us as humans, we, if we're willing to tune into it, we can know how we are making others around us feel, including our dogs. And that experience for me it's stuck with me for a long time. And I hope that if you are in an experience where you have family or friends or a trainer or someone who's trying to get you to use methods you don't feel comfortable with, it's okay to not do it. And my main takeaway I want you to have from this episode is that, in my opinion, it's much better to avoid aversives and avoid potentially creating problems for your dog than to use a shortcut, use a tool that in theory might get your dog to do something, but not necessarily going to teach them and is also not going to have good long-term effects. Because that's what happened. Our dogs did become a bit more responsive on the leash because they hated the corrections, but they didn't know exactly what was wanted of them still. There was not enough emphasis on learning how to walk calmly on a leash or how to do what was asked of them. It was all about corrections. And that can be so problematic. And this is why I don't use aversives, and I recommend others not to, because in the hands of an absolute expert, it might be okay. I know that's like kind of hard to hear. And I'm not condoning it, but it might be okay in the hands of an expert. But when you have this person with 20 plus years of experience, and they may know how to use these tools, but then they put the same tool into the hands of an absolute beginner with zero experience and expect them to do it the same or to get it right, it's not fair. It's truly unfair to those pup parents and to the dogs that are being trained. So this is me. This is why I don't use aversives. This is why I think more conversations need to be had about not using aversives, is because they get put into the hands of beginners with no experience, and of no fault of their own, they make massive mistakes and end up causing huge problems for their dogs down the line. My dog Scout was reactive for a couple years. It took a lot of time and work to overcome it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it gets you thinking a little bit about how you can, have conversations with people around you about why you use positive reinforcement, and, really kind of looking at how you feel and internalizing and looking at your dog and how they feel as you're doing the training, because it is a relationship. It's a relationship-based experience. And thinking that you're just going to constantly be giving corrections, and your dog's not going to shut down is naive. Our dogs are going to shut down. And that's exactly what happened to my dogs. And I've seen it happen to so many other dogs. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Other than that, we will catch you on the next episode.